Taliban abusing humanitarian aid in Afghanistan.
Shia Rights Watch expresses its condemnation on the targeted bombings in the Iraqi capital Baghdad.
There is so much happening that now is the right moment to bring together the biggest stories in one place at one time. It's ambitious, it's a first for the Shia around the world. Join me, Ayoub Nueno, for Shia Waves, live only on Imam Hussein TV free.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام على خير الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. Distinguished guests, dear brothers, dear sisters, dear viewers at home, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Morning Baraka. We are here, we are live, coming to you from the studios in London. We have a lot in store for you, but don't forget, this week is Parenting Week. This week is a celebratory week because this week we are celebrating the births of the heroes of Karbala, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Abil Fadhil Abbas and Imam Sajjad. That's only in the beginning, 3, 4 and 5. We've also got the births of Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam. We've got the births of Sayyidah Ruqayya alayhi salam, as well as ending with, quite fittingly, the birth of Imam al-Mahdi Ajjallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif on the 15th of Sha'ban, insha'Allah. Now, when it comes to this week, we are edging closer to the birth of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, which is technically tomorrow, and tonight is the night of the 3rd. So that will be technically tomorrow. A moment of great happiness, not only for us, but also for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who he would cherish and he would look after and he would care for both Imam al-Hussein and Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. And his parenting tips essentially have transcended time to reach us today, and we learn lessons from how the Prophet would treat Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So on that note, speaking of young people, we continue with our theme of parenting this week, and here is what's coming up on today's show. Muslim families face many challenges. I'm not going to name them all now, but for sure my guests Zahira Mamdani, Muhammad Jawad Ghulam Hussain have a wealth of knowledge in this area as they founded the Muslim Hub. Find out what they do after the break. Just past the hour on this day returns with not only a tribute to the birth of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but a very significant day for one of the obligatory acts in Islam. Find out what later on in the show. And of course, as ever, we end the show with the dua of Tuesday, recited by Ahmed al-Rikabi, and that is live or from the holy city of Karbala. So that's Tuesday, the 13th of February, 2nd of Sha'ban, Muslim family challenges. Yes, by the way, if you've noticed, there is not one guest, but 2 guests at the same time. Because, as you guessed it, they are a couple, they are married, and I'm excited to hear what they have to say about the Muslim Hub on this day, and the supplication of Tuesday is also on the menu. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters, dear viewers at home. Welcome to Morning Baraka. So if you've just joined us, then you have missed the introduction for the show. And what I said essentially is that this week is Parenting Week. Yesterday, if you missed the show, I'd love for you to go back onto the show because we talked with Hawrat Milani about the dangers of the cyber world, so the online world for our children. Very, very riveting discussion. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, we're now talking to essentially And not to state the obvious, but Muslim families living in the West, they obviously face a whole host of challenges, ultimately trying to raise a next generation of Muslims who are strong in their faith identity and able to assimilate into their local societies. The challenges, however, can include navigating stereotypes, Islamophobia, maintaining Islamic values in a secular environment, social media, and much more. However, we've seen an increase in online resources becoming invaluable tools in addressing these challenges. Platforms offering Islamic education, parenting guidance, community support, and resources for combating discrimination provide a virtual lifeline for Muslim families. Through online forums, social media groups, and educational websites and counseling services, Muslim families can find solidarity, guidance, and resources to navigate the complexities of life in the West while staying true to their faith and cultural heritage. On the other hand, some may argue that although it's a great resource, information online can be questionable, especially for those seeking accurate guidance on information on religious matters, i.e. jurisprudence. Now, in any case, there's a Muslim family out there that have done just that. They've launched an online portal of wonderful resources and tools for families to utilize. And they're now online with me on the show. Muhammad Jawad and Ziyara, assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for having us on board today.
Thank you very much for coming on to the show. Firstly, how's the little one? I heard there was a stomach bug going around or something.
We sort of outsourced them today to our parents. So alhamdulillah, they're doing all right.
Fantastic stuff. So look, kicking it off, I'd love for you to give me a brief kind of understanding as to the Muslim Family Hub. Tell me about that and I guess how it came about.
Sure. I think you introduced it pretty well. I think in this day and age, Muslim families face many, many challenges in their quest to become a more God-centric and strong family in their Islam and as Muslims. So what Muslim Family Hub does is they provide resources to foster that God-centric family, to provide them with the tools that they can use to enable them to achieve that goal, inshallah. So inshallah, we do that via social media, we do that via courses, via resources that allow them to do so. And it originated, and I'll show you. I'll sort of talk about how we originated after that. So, anything else to add?
Yeah, no, pretty much summed it up. I think, I mean, you probably also consider yourself fairly young parent. You know, we're all kind of not very old, but even then, when we look at the challenges that our very young children are facing, it's scary to think that things were so different when we were that age, and it just goes to show how quickly things are changing, how quickly challenges
it's in
cropping
double
up.
speed.
So yeah, inshallah, we're hoping that Muslim Family Hub can provide parents with a little bit more support, and in particular support that comes from the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt and the Quran, because I think the society that we live in is not a God-centric society, and so it's very easy to kind of fall into mainstream parenting, or we see a nice post on Instagram that sounds like it would work with our kids, and then we implement it, and a few months or years down the line we realize, okay, hang on, now I'm kind of starting to see results that are against what I initially wanted, or not quite in line with Islam. So our aim is to provide the tools from basically a Thaqalain-centric place, from the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, inshallah.
Okay, fantastic stuff. So I understand from from discussions that we had before the show that you have some sort of surveys that you do.
So essentially, before we started, we needed to have a purpose. We needed a sense of why we're doing this. And so what we did was we carried out a survey where we asked 150 families from the US and the UK a series of questions in terms of how confident you are about raising a Muslim family. How does Islam affect your way of life? How centric is Allah in your life? What challenges would you face? Do you have the resources to overcome these challenges? And how confident are you that there is resources available out there for you to use? And the results are quite damning, actually. Although a lot of the families, alhamdulillah, had a good, strong sense of Islam within their family, and that they had an identity which was quite strong as Muslims, 70% of them didn't feel as prepared as they ought to be in order to deal with these challenges that we face. And even more strikingly, 90% of these families felt like there weren't any resources out there, or the resources out there weren't helping them as much as they'd like to overcome these challenges. And so these challenges that we asked them to highlight were quite varied, but there were a lot of common themes, such as device addiction, which was that was the majority, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the biggest concern the parents had.
There's also issues with mental health, how to maintain your wajibat, how to avoid haram. Also, premarital relations, that was a big one. And especially in this day and age, you've got the social media aspect, you've got pornography, everything that's related to technology. That was quite striking. So that was something that we saw as a way of a sense of purpose. Like, people are now resources to help them. They need help. This is where me and the co-founder Hasib Rizvi, who I'm sure you know, we met one night and discussed the many worries of being a girl dad, because Hasib's daughter was 3 at the time, mine was 1, and we were just talking about how schools, how they have a different culture there compared to what we'd like them to be raised within. So the aspects and the learnings that they would have in nursery were quite different to the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt and the Quran, for example. And so that essentially, as the conversation went on, our worry started off here, and then it started increasing until we were like white hairs all over the place. Like, oh my God, we need to do something. We need to address this. And so we ran the survey, and then we looked at the results and said, this is it. This is our purpose. This is our way in. So as you probably know, Hasib is brilliant at all the online aspect of social management. So me and him co-founded it, and then we also needed a lot of support and a lot of help. So that's where I turned to my dear and loved ones here. I was like, listen, you're really good at talking in public about these kind of things. You're really you've done a lot of research into this kind of stuff, and you're a pretty amazing mom. So I think we brought Ziyara on board, and we have another brilliant core team member called Zainab Shelchi, who is fantastic, brilliant. Mother of 4, is it?
Yes,
and absolutely incredible at what she does. And so that's what formed the core team, and that's what allowed us to then kick off, really.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that this isn't your main kind of line of work, right? Surely not.
Definitely not. I'm a
doesn't generate any income, right? Muslim Family Hub?
Not at all. No, it's a non-for-profit. We're also trying to fundraise at the moment to cover the costs of what we do, but it doesn't generate any income as yet. But in terms of our ideas moving forward, we're looking to generate some revenue in the way of courses, in the way of resources, hopefully residential. And Hasib doesn't know this, but in 10 or 15 years' time, I'm even thinking maybe a school. Who knows? That because we don't really have one that's Thaqalain centric in the UK.
Right. Yeah. Interesting stuff. So this is how many hours then do you pledge a day, a week?
So yeah, we were discussing this just yesterday.
Yeah, so it really varies depending on kids, because I'm sure you know that they're just really unpredictable, like illnesses and just sleep and this and that. So it really varies.
Yeah, I think
it's hard to put a number on it, to be honest.
Well, on average, I would say anything between 30 minutes to about 2 hours a day.
Oh wow!
But then obviously you get highs and lows. You get days where you can't even afford any time to work on it because either the kids are sick or you're busy doing all the stuff during the night and all that kind of stuff. But it's mainly after work because obviously we've got our 9 to 5. Obviously here it's full time with our 2 daughters, and so like at the end of the day when everyone's like when the kids are in bed, you're like, okay, now, whew, what do we need to do for Muslim family? And meanwhile, Hasib's in America.
No, I know that feeling because I've kind of sleep trained my kids to be in bed around 7:30, 8. No, they're asleep by 8. So past 8 o'clock is like, okay, this is now me time. Which I think is essential in the balance of the stress of dealing with the children throughout the whole day, compared to your alone time and your me time, and actually stuff that you want to work on after they go to bed, right? So tell me very quickly, I guess, in terms of the generational changes now, and how those challenges have changed from generation to generation.
I think the biggest factor to consider is technology and social media and the internet. I feel like when we were kids, I think like, okay, the internet was there, but I don't remember having a smartphone until
Yeah.
like GCSEs or something like that. And so the things that kids are exposed to now, like cyberbullying, pornography, like, and it's not intentional, right? Like I was reading somewhere that the massive majority of kids who are exposed to pornography, it's not intentional, it's completely by accident, pop-ups or adverts or this kind of thing. Um, so I think that's like the biggest kind of black hole that we're facing right now, that people just don't know how to deal with it because it wasn't there when we were younger. It wasn't there when our parents were parenting us. So it's a really tricky one to navigate, and we are working with people like you. You've obviously had Hawra Milani on. We're working with Reza John, inshallah, to deliver some kind of content, some kind of course or resource for parents to really know their ins and outs, because it's just quite scary to leave our kids to deal with something like this completely on their own, and not be a part of it with them.
And obviously, while we appreciate that our platform is mainly online, so it's either via Instagram Reels or carousels or podcasts. We are looking to have some insert some positivity into that space. I know it won't do much to tackle all the the different hazards that you get online, but it gives people a way out into something else that's a bit more productive. And as Zahira said, we're looking into something else, like such as courses and webinars and events and residentials, in order to help tackle these modern challenges. I think, building on from what Zahira said, the other aspect which I feel is a bit more encouraging is the fact that I feel that modern day parents, or the parents in this generation, are a bit more conscious of the fact that their children operate in a different way, and are sort of more conscious of wanting to relate to them a little bit more and connect with them. And I think that connection, the learning to connect with them in a more meaningful way, is something that might be different to the generation previous, because the generation previously, as a first generation immigrant, there were so many different challenges that were that created different pressures on our parents compared to what we face today, because we're settled in this country, alhamdulillah. Our parents made the move here, or some of our parents did, in order to settle, and that brought about challenges that were sort of completely different to what we're facing. So, in a way, these different mindset shifts are quite encouraging.
Absolutely. What's your engagement like with the local communities, or the masjids, or the Husseinias?
At the moment, I would say most of our engagement happens online. And I think,
is that on purpose, by the way, Zahira? Online, you don't want to do more physical stuff.
No, I think because this all started during COVID, we started off online because that really was the easiest and best way to reach people. But looking back, I think it worked in our favor, because we've just managed to reach such like a wide net of people. Haseeb's in the US, so we've got our US audience. We had people responding to the survey from all over the world, which is really encouraging to see. I think going forward, it would be nice to engage more locally. And we did have an in-person event last year in London. That was really good as well. So I think there's a bit of both, but primarily I think it's online, just because of the reach we have online.
But having said that, we are looking to make the shift into more in-person events, and events where we're not just putting content out there, we're interacting with our audience and our family, really. We're having our first ever webinar, which is taking place in a couple of weeks, a week and a half, with the esteemed Sheikh Jafar Ladak, who's going to be talking about how to nurture God-centric activism in your family, especially with the atrocities that are going on in Palestine and all over the world. It's something that we thought was very, very relevant, because parents these days, they're taking their kids to protests, but they don't know, or I don't know, how to sort of nurture that within our child. So Sheikh Jafar is going to be at hand to talk us through the various aspects, how to nurture good habits in the family to begin with,
Yeah.
the environment to create, and all of those kind of things. So we're looking to pivot into more interactive um, content, so webinars and in-person events and residentials, in order to provide more of a service to our family out there
Yeah.
that can benefit
Um,
from these services.
you guys must receive a lot of emails, messages that come through. You know, do people explain their worries, tell you about their worries and their challenges, expecting you to be like a portal of experts where you provide answers?
I wouldn't say so. I think the biggest kind of input we had was when we ran that initial survey, we received a lot of quite lengthy responses,
Yeah.
people really spelling out their fears for their children and the issues
Right.
they were facing.
Right.
But I think we've made it quite clear from the start of this that we are not the experts. We are kind of, we're in this with you. And I think that's what's made it so relatable to a lot of parents. And
Right.
that's what's kind of got the engagement, is to kind of say, you know, we're not here to tell you you've got this wrong, you've got that wrong, because we're in the same boat. We're probably as
Yeah.
confused as you are.
Yeah.
And let's figure out, you know, let's figure this out together.
But the
So,
great
so on
thing
that
is,
note, yeah, sorry, Mohammed.
but the great thing is, although we are not the experts, we do go to the experts
Yeah.
and bring them on
Okay.
board and say,
Yeah.
listen, these are our worries. I need to know how to raise a teenager. So we brought on Neil Nasser on board, who works
Yeah.
with a lot of teenagers, and he went through an absolute clinic as to how to manage teenagers, how to connect with them, how to deal with their issues, etc. The
MashaAllah.
top 3 issues that they face, we walk through it step by step, and this is the kind of thing that we look to do. So in terms of Father's Day, for example, last year to celebrate Imam Ali's Milada, we had Sheikh Abbas Jafar talking about the importance of a father, the role of the father. So we bring in all these experts so that they can tell us and teach us how to do things and answer our questions that we have.
The reason why I asked is because was there a particular note, message, or an email or a survey response that came through that really caught your eye and made you think that is a harrowing experience, or someone who really poured their heart out, thinking, you know, I'm really struggling to raise these children or this child? Anything that stuck out for you guys, for any one of you?
I think there was a running theme that I saw in a few of the responses we received about kind of society and the influence that that was having on a lot of children, and that seemed to be a really strong theme. Like, I'm worried about, you know, the kids my child's hanging out with at school and the values they're picking up out there. How do I kind of form a force field around them to shield them from anything that doesn't, you know, agree with our faith? And that was a really, really common response, a really common theme in a lot of the responses that came in. And I think now our eldest has just started nursery, but in the lead up to that, I think we had very similar
Oh yeah.
fears.
I think when I was speaking to and the survey, I also make an active effort to speak to friends who are fathers about what they're going through as well. Just, you know, out there actively seeking out different opinions and doing an active survey, as it were. And I think the technology aspect is one of the things that really stuck out for me in all the conversations I've had. Because
Yeah.
I think I was talking to a friend of mine who has a daughter. They don't give their daughter a smartphone, but his daughter, sort of hangs around with a group of friends who have smartphones all over the place. They're sort of in year 11 or year 10, year 12. Literally, everyone's just glued onto it and be the same, but you'll just be looking at the phone and then smiling, looking at the phone and smiling. And there's no conversation happening out loud. It's just people typing away and smiling. And if you don't have that, you're obviously missing out. And so
Yeah.
it came to the point where they just couldn't connect, her and her friends group. They just couldn't connect. And God knows what happens on those screens in terms of, apart from that conversation that's happening in that group, there's so much out there that can influence our children from what's on the screen. So what happened was that um, she actually got involved in a lot of sports, and she got involved in a lot of sports and got very good at it. But she had to then she found that she was pulling away from that friends group, was always on the screen. But to the point, and then after a weekend, she got back into school, and the atmosphere was completely different. It was like very tense. She didn't know what was wrong, and something had happened online. And so she spoke to one person, not knowing that they had an argument with the other person. So the other person didn't like them because they weren't supposed to be speaking to the other. So she didn't know about it. She was completely oblivious to it because it was all happening on WhatsApp. And that's the issue that they face. They're just trapped in that little environment.
Wow.
And we don't know because um, there aren't, when you're in this, when you're like just engrossed, you're not connecting with everyone else in the outside world. So that was a big, that really stuck to me actually, because
Yeah.
you have like swathes of conversations, and you'd be oblivious if you weren't in there.
Muhammad Jawad and Zahira, we're going to go to a very, very small break, but please don't go anywhere because the conversation is very, very interesting and there's a lot more questions that I have in mind. Inshallah, we'll get through.
This is Hussein from London. You're very blessed to be in the holy land of Karbala. Please pray for us and pray for everyone who do wish to go.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. I want to pay my respects to Imam Hussein and Mulla Abbas from my parents, and I would like you to recite Salam and Ziyara for Imam Hussein and Mulla Abbas on my behalf.
السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين وأولاد الحسين وأصحاب الحسين وأنصار الحسين لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا غازي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته
وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين.
Welcome back, dear viewers of Morning Baraka. You are watching Morning Baraka here on Imam Hussein TV 3. Before the break, we were talking to Muhammad Jawad and Zahira, a family actually, who have brought together, along with some friends along the way, a online portal of resources and tools to help Muslim families tackle issues and challenges that they face here in the West. There are a lot of different topics that the website covers. It's a very user-friendly website. I still have Zahira and Muhammad Jawad on the line, right?
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
I was researching actually the website today and yesterday. It's a very user-friendly, very light, very colorful website. So talk to us about, I guess, the design. I know Hasib is the mastermind behind that, but like, talk to us about a couple of years ago compared to now and what the plans are for the future for this online resource.
Sure. I think a couple of years ago we started off with articles and podcasts. So we focused on the articles and we reached out to a lot of writers that we knew who were parents and who were struggling with these issues and topics. And we got them to write, and we had a swathe of articles come in that we were really benefiting from and sharing. And we had a newsletter as well, didn't we?
Yeah, monthly newsletter.
Yeah, which we used to summarize what the articles used to talk about, and used to email the articles out to people automatically as soon as it got submitted. Then we started venturing into podcasts, where we had Sister Zainab and Sister Zahira as well. Like you were hosting as well at some point?
I started off hosting, and I think I went on maternity leave, and Zainab took over the podcast.
Yeah.
She's done a fabulous job with that now.
Honestly. So we got into podcasts as well, and started tackling these topics in a bit more depth, where we got experts in the list of issues that
Yes.
that parents highlighted that they were facing. So we try tackling them one by getting the experts in to talk about how to overcome those issues and how to then raise a God-centric family um,
Yep.
by tackling those issues. So then we started off with the podcasts. Alhamdulillah, that's been a steady stream of input now that's coming in. And then we Instagram and Twitter on social media. So we've had a lot more luck with Instagram than we have on Twitter. I think Twitter is a little bit tricky to engage with. But with Instagram, we've been producing carousels and reels to talk about the various issues, but also to celebrate the various birthdays and commemorate the wafat that happened. So in terms of on the 13th of Rajab, we released some content regarding Imam Ali and his role as a father and what we can learn from him. So it's been sort of articles, podcasts, Instagram content, and social media content. And now we're looking to, and that's all on the website in terms of the podcasts are available on the website, the articles are as well. What we're looking to move into now webinars, and we're planning on having one every month where we tackle these issues, but also make it a bit more interactive. So rather than a podcast where we just have the host and the expert talking, we want to have the audience asking questions because that adds another dimension to what we're trying to achieve, and it makes it a bit more holistic. So with those webinars, we're hoping to have it once a month, again tackling these types of issues. We're planning one about hijab, keeping it, putting it on to begin with, and then keeping it on. For example, how to come up with a family plan, a mission statement that can sort of help shape you as a family. These types of webinars that can help Muslim families get engaged and answer some very, very tricky questions that they might have. And we have these sheikhs and experts on board to help answer that. We're looking to move into that, and as well as that, in-person events as well, where we're having workshops and talks, so similar to what they had in the Muslim convention, if you recall. So a little bit in that model.
So again on the website, I went through some of the articles, and actually, by the way, just so you know, I searched Imam Hussein legacy on Google, and I think the 7th or 8th article down or website link down was the Muslim Hub. I don't know if that's, hopefully that's good news.
Hasib's expertise. Honestly, in terms of the design of the website of it, Hasib would be the best person to talk to.
It was really good. I was really impressed actually, because I wasn't intending on finding Muslim Hub article. I was actually looking for another article, just general, and I found like 7 or 8 articles down. The Muslim Hub. I was like, okay, fine. If you guys have something to say about it, let me see it. So I went online, and I guess the actual question was, you talk about concepts to do with Thaqalain, as you mentioned, and Ahlul Bayt, and the lessons that we can learn about Ahlul Bayt, and then link that to family. For example, one of the articles, and I'm actually going to be reading an extract from the article later on in the show. It was about Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the painful day of Karbala. However, how did Imam Hussein actually be empathetic and be present with Sayyidah Sakina, Sayyidah Ruqayya, or Sayyidah Fatima, who was left in Medina. Anyway, the point is, to what extent, so we know you cover religion, which is fine. It's fantastic. You link everything from your family values to religion, to the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. To what extent is science used within your approach, within your resources, your solutions?
Yeah. So I think it needs to be, a holistic approach. And I mean, anyone that's heard our podcasts or, seen the articles will see that a lot of the people that we interview, a lot of the experts that we refer to when we're trying to find solutions to these problems are, experts in their fields. We've got GPs or mental health experts, child psychologists, people that really know their ins and outs from a non-Islamic perspective as well. But I think it's important to remember that we don't want to fall into the trap of kind of, like I mentioned earlier, it's so easy to see something online and be like, okay, this is going to solve my problems. But without us checking it against the backdrop of Islamic teaching, it's not really something that we can kind of embrace with conviction and say, okay, this is going to work. So I think it's, we definitely need to use science, we definitely need to use modern psychology, but also measure it against the backdrop of the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt before fully saying, okay, yes, this is, we can go ahead with this. And I think that's where other experts that we also have from a religious perspective come in to kind of give us the green light and say, okay, yes, this is, we can okay this from a religious perspective.
Inshallah, inshallah. So just on a final note, could you, I guess, both give us your top challenge that you noticed within the feedback coming in, and the top tip to challenge, to overcome that? Would be great for the dear listeners at home.
Top challenge that we saw coming in. This wasn't mentioned in any of the responses, but I'm just going to come from a personal perspective now, because the list of challenges is so long. There are lots to choose from. But I think the challenge of just remaining composed, like, I don't think anyone tells anyone else how difficult it is not to lose your cool as a parent. And honestly, like, my whole life, people have always been like, you're so calm, you're so composed. My goodness, like, that's been so challenged after having kids. And I think, it's so easy to let ourselves go and be like, well, I'm a parent now, I'm allowed to be angry. I'm a parent now, I'm allowed to shout or do this or do that. That's not how it works, sadly. But the biggest challenge has been kind of controlling that anger, controlling, that temptation to kind of just lose composure. But the solution, I guess, or ways around that, I have found what I think, I don't know if we've done a podcast with her or not, but I'm not sure if you know Shaheen Mirali. She is a facilitator for the hand-in-hand parenting course. And one of the things she mentions in that is that the teachings that come from there are so in line with Islam. There's so much about playing with your child, connecting with your child, forming really deep connection and understanding them and being patient with them, letting them be. A lot of it is in line with the teachings of our Ahlul Bayt, and when we read about how they used to play with their children. So that's really helped. And also, I know you mentioned an extract that you were going to read from an article, and I think I know which article you're talking about, by Zainab, where she talks about Imam Hussein. And honestly, that article hit me hard, because now every time I'm about to get annoyed or lose my cool, I'm like, hang on a second, I do not have an excuse, because on the morning of Ashura, if Imam Hussein is able to speak to his kids kindly, with compassion and empathy, then this is nothing.
Yeah, great stuff. Hamid Jawad?
I think very, very briefly, it was fantastically said. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very briefly, in terms of in helping your children and asking them to do things and making sure that they actually follow what you're asking them to do, a lot of it is to do with leading by action. And so if you're on the screen, for example, going back to what we talked about earlier, if you're on the screen and then you're on it for like 10 minutes and then you're like, okay, fine, I'm done now. This is me done. And you're looking across and your child is on the screen. Hey, get off the screen now. That thing, they're not going to listen to you, obviously, because they've just seen you for 10 minutes being on it as well. So I think in order to get your children to listen to you, and this is what I've been told by about 3 or 4 parenting experts, including some sheikhs, lead by example. So when they see you asking them to do something, they've seen you implementing what you've asked them to do, and so it makes them more confident that what you're asking them to do is something that you're willing to do yourself. So leading by example aspect is something that I really took away from all these conversations I've had.
Fantastic stuff. Honestly, wish you both all the best. Genuinely, it's been a really interesting conversation with you both. There's a great harmony, mashallah. May Allah, I guess, protect you both, protect your family, and give you all of the tawfiq to continue with the Muslim Hub. It sounds like a fantastic initiative. Thank you very much, Muhammad Jawad and Ziyara, for coming onto the show.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely fine. Thank you. So that was Muhammad Jawad and Ziyara Mamdani, who are co-founders, or actually the co-founder must have been Hasib Rizvi, so shout out to Hasib Rizvi. Ziyara was brought in, I think, another time. In any case, these guys are leading a fantastic initiative called the Muslim Hub. Thank you so much for your time. Coming up on today's show. On this day returns. Find out as we discuss Imam Hussein alayhi salam, as well as the very important jurisprudential act that was implemented and made obligated or obligatory today. Find out after the break.
Yeah, and I remember one day it just got really bad and I just ran out of class, went home crying. And I just said to Allah, there has to be a better way than this, right? Really. My dad was in business and Dad said, why don't you take over the business? I'm like, no, I don't do that. I want to go into dentistry. He goes, really? People's mouths? I'm like, and obviously I just went and told the family I'm going to get married. And they said, yeah, get married. Right? You have no money, you have no house, you have no career, but just get married. James Bond.
An agent, double agent.
Yeah, but he's a
spy.
Yes. You have to have the paid version to save it.
Oh, is it?
I'm joking. And I remember seeing this quote by Gandhi, and it said that you'll find yourself when you lose yourself in the service of others. I realized that there was a coach in the audience, and that coach was charging people €1 million to coach them.
What practical steps can you take in order for you to say, this is where I want to go?
The one thing I'd say, ask yourself, are you happy?
Keep going, a bit more.
Like, when you look at our religion, what is the essence of religion? It's to be the best person you can, right? That's it. Best person you can.
Yes, look out for the late night show with Dr. Mahmoud Mauji coming up this Sunday. It was a fantastic conversation, I should tell you. Really, really interesting. He's got a way where you feel like you really want to just change your life there and then. He has that about him, mashallah. He's got an aura. And anyway, that's late night show coming up on Sunday at 9 o'clock. We've had the pleasure of listening to Muhammad Jawad and Ziyara speak about the Muslim Family Hub. So, as I mentioned to them earlier on, I was researching the website and came across an article about Imam Hussein and the importance of family. So my reflection is an extract from this article. It says, the story of Karbala is studded with inspiring models of the family dynamic we all aspire to have, where families place Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his rightful place, at the center of all their interactions. Brothers and sisters wholeheartedly give, and mothers and fathers are pillars of strength and compassion for their little ones. To let the season of Karbala conclude without deriving some renewed energy and stimulus for change is surely an opportunity missed, especially as busy parents who can easily get swept in the chaos of life energy, being depleted with every breath and step, mindlessly ticking off tasks, shouting instructions, and dredging through life a day at a time. But the primary source of inspiration has to go to, or has got to be, Imam Hussein alayhi salam himself, a towering figure of resilience, sacrifice and piety. His life, particularly his interactions with his family members during the events leading to and in Karbala, offers invaluable insights into the essence of mindful parenting. Through his compassionate exchanges with his daughter Fatima and Sakina, Imam Hussein modeled an empathetic, gentle and patient approach to parenting that serves as a guiding light for us all today. As Imam Hussein prepared for the journey to Karbala, he had to confront the daunting task of leaving his sick daughter Fatima behind. His approach to this difficult moment was emblematic of his exceptional emotional availability and empathetic presence. His father, Imam Ali alayhi salam, is known for the saying, "You think you are a small entity, but within you is enfolded the entire universe." Imam Hussein alayhi salam certainly acknowledges this dignity given to mankind through his interactions with his young children. Imam Hussein did not dismiss Fatima's worries and fears. Instead, he took the time to validate her feelings, comfort her, and instill hope, illustrating the importance of parents being emotionally al-shalchi for the article who wrote the article. It does go on, talks about actually practical steps in the here and now. What do you do? For example, when they return home from school, what's your approach? How do you approach them? Is it quickly instructions? Because they follow a regiment. They're very regimented during school. 9 to 10, you're doing this. You sit down, you're not allowed to speak. You have to do your work. You move from here to here to here to here. And then when you're home, they just want to let out all of that energy. So what's your approach? Do you, again, put them into a regimented, okay, now you have to do this, now you have to do that, or just let them be free, let them express their emotions, let them express their energy? It depends. Again, so there's loads of different tips that you can gain from that particular article. Now, on this day does return with Ramadan. Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. It is the month during which Muslims observe fasting from morning twilight, Fajr prayer, to the evening twilight, that's the Maghrib prayer. And the term Ramadan, interestingly, is literally driven or derived from al-ramd, which means burning heat of the sun. And sometimes we hear in the Masa'ib of Imam Hussein, how we hear Imam Hussein fir ramdha, which is the burning sand because of the heating sun. Ala ramdha. Anyway, so that was that. It is believed that this name is given to be to the fasting month due to the thirst experienced during fasting. It is narrated from the Prophet of Islam ﷺ, Muhammad, that the name is given to fasting month because fasting burns the sins. Al-Ramd, which is the exceptional heat, burns the sins. Very, very interesting stuff. According to some narrations, Ramadan is one of the names of Allah, and hence the more appropriate way to refer to the month, by the way, of the month of fasting is the month of Ramadan, not just Ramadan. So this huge and important task was actually made obligatory on this day. Yes, obligatory, wajib, during the month of Sha'ban, the 8th month, in the second year after the Muslims migrated from Mecca to Medina. And that brings to a close our program, our episode for today. Just to let you know, the season is coming to another close. I've had numerous guests, but it's been a fantastic journey from the beginning of February until now. We are going to take a small break at the end of this week. So we've got one more guest. Do not miss my interview with Mulla Ahmed Siddiq. It will be on this Friday, 10:30 in the morning, inshallah. He's currently in another country, but hoping that he arrives safely, inshallah, on Thursday. And then on Friday morning, we're going to have him, inshallah, on the couch, Mulla Ahmed Siddiq. And that's to end this season of Morning Baraka. The next time we see you after Mulla Ahmed Siddiq will be in Ramadan. And that, ladies and gentlemen, you do not want to miss, because the plans and the work is happening right now in order to bring you a fantastic program during suhoor time in Ramadan. So, in any case, I finish this program as always with the dua of Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, recited by Ahmed al-Rikabi, and I end this program by saying, I should have memorized this by now, but I end this program by saying, Oh Allah, make the beginning of this morning of mine righteous, its middle prosperity, and its end success. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا وأعوذ به من شر نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي وأعوذ به من شر الشيطان الذي يزيدني ذنبا إلى ذنبي وأحترز به من كل جبار فاجر وسلطان جائر وعدو قاهر. اللهم اجعلني من جندك فإن جندك هم الغالبون، واجعلني من حزبك فإن حزبك هم المفلحون، واجعلني من أوليائك فإن أولياءك لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. اللهم اصلح لي ديني فإنه عصمة أمري، واصلح لي آخرتي فإنها دار مقري، وإليها من مجاورة اللئام مفري، واجعل الحياة زيادة لي في كل خير، والوفاة راحة لي من كل شر. اللهم صل على محمد خاتم النبيين وتمام عدة المرسلين، وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين. وهب لي في الثلاثاء ثلاثا، لا تدع لي ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا غما إلا أذهبته، ولا عدوا إلا دفعته. ببسم الله خير الأسماء، بسم الله رب الأرض والسماء، أستدفع كل مكروه أوله سخط، وأستجلب كل محبوب أوله رضا، فاختم لي منك بالغفران يا ولي الإحسان. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الأطهار.
Have a duty towards the preservation and the propagation of the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Indeed, one of the best ways to work towards the reappearance of Imam al-Mahdi Ajjalallah Ta'ala Farajul Sharif is through promoting the values of Karbala. Imam Hussein Media Group is the only Shia television network that broadcasts globally in 5 different languages: Arabic, Farsi, Turkish, Urdu, and English. We are appealing to the lovers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam worldwide to support the channel such that it may continue its global operations. Imam Hussein Media Group is seeking 1,000 partners to pledge to a £14 contribution per month. This will allow the channel to sustain its operating costs as we continue to spread the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in multiple languages across the globe. You be a part of this great legacy and donate today. You can pledge in two ways. www.imamhussein3.tv/donate will take you direct to our donation page where you can pledge monthly. Or you can call or WhatsApp us on 0044 793 9917 Imam Hussein TV, your gateway to Karbala.
Jiddu, I need to tell you a secret. I had an exam today and I cheated on the exam, and to be honest, I feel like it's eating me up inside as if it's haram.
Your father used to do the exact something and would always get in trouble. But you have done it now and cannot go back. I don't know if it is haram. Khair inshallah.
Thanks, Jiddu. Jiddu, I wanted to ask if it's halal to buy lottery tickets. They're so cheap and we could make a lot of money.
I don't know if it is halal or haram, but never think about something like that again.
Okay, I was just asking. Jiddu.
Ka'abitni, what do you want now?
I just wanted to ask if the sweet beef gelatin is halal or haram.
You're supposed to check it before buying it, not after.